Hello people of YouTube. Today I'm actually going to be showing you something a little bit different because I'm a little bit tired of seeing the same decks over and over. So I'm sorry for the wonky camera, by the way, so I haven't got a tripod for this. But I'm actually tired of the whole spirals. I'm tired of tricksters. I'm already tired of counter fairies. So I'm going to show you quite a fun deck. It's 50 cards, and obviously that is a huge amount of cards. But I'm going to jump straight into this. This is my Divine Monarch deck. So first of all, you actually want to play 3 YuGiOh the Heavenly Squire. Obviously, her effect allows you to actually bring out the next best monster, which is actually 3 YuGiOh the Underworld Squire. Basically, what happens is you normal summon YuGiOh. YuGiOh would actually just special summon an YuGiOh to the field, so you just play like that. And he'll give you another tribute, so you can just get out any monster you want. Obviously, this works out really, really nicely, just by bringing out the gods, basically. So, next up, I actually play double Link Slayer and double Kaiser Volse Raider. So when you want to go first in this deck, because Link Slayer and Kaiser Volse Raider require you to have no monsters on the field. So it's an instant special summon, and then of course if you wanted to play basically your YuGiOh and your aether, you would be having 3 monsters on the field, obviously an automatic god card. That's basically what we're going for in this deck. Personal old school favourite of mine, Vanities Fiend. I run at 2. I was running it at 3, but it came a little bit bricky at times, so I've narrowed it down to 2. And I was playing Majesty's Fiend, which stops all monster effects, but obviously I actually need to use monster effects to get my cards out. So I run double Vanities Fiend. Neither player can special summon monsters. Obviously, you'll already have your monsters out by then. And you don't even use an extra deck in this game, and you don't, well, if you want to use a side deck, I actually made that mistake and didn't use a side deck in the UK Open, and I messed up really badly. Next up, we have double Dark Summoning Beast. Obviously, this will help you get out a Haemon and a Raviel. Obviously, these are my preferred choices at the moment. Well, I was bricking because, you know, you don't often get these kind of cards out, but you know, well, if you've got the card, if you basically just got an YuGiOh or aether on the field, or just any monster, obviously you just tribute it for the Dark Summoning Beast, tribute the Dark Summoning Beast by effect, and then just bring out one of these. Obviously, if you've got monsters on the field, you just bring out Haemon in defense position, so only your opponent can target him for attacks and none of your other monsters. Or, you know, you've got a 4000 beat stick, like also like Raviel, and Raviel will actually just, you know, have a token on the field. You can use that for a tribute also, I believe. Okay, next up, seeing as I'm actually playing a god engine with the Monarchs, which works actually very well. People always laugh at me, but you know what, I've literally just added this card to my deck. 3 Ra's Disciples. You would normal summon one of them, you bring out 2 of them. Obviously, I run double Obelisk and just trying out Winged Dragon of Ra. I don't know how I feel about running the Ra. Obviously, if it's in your hand, any of these, you just bust them out. Your opponent cannot negate the summon. The only thing they can do is just stop Ra's Disciple. But you know what? I don't think they will, because they're more excited just to see the god cards in action. But at the moment, 3 Ra's Disciples, and that's how I run my gods. Okay, and 2 Mega Monarchs, so Mobius the Mega Monarch and Caius the Mega Monarch. Now, I'm actually supposed to be running Caius as a double. Maybe I might even just take Mobius out, but Mobius is really good because once you tribute summon for it, you can target up to 3 spell trap cards on the field and destroy them. Most of the time, I will have Prime Monarch as basically a decoy card, so I actually always need that in the graveyard. So I'll use Mobius to get rid of Prime Monarch in the graveyard, and then you can use that as a special summon. Caius and Mega Monarch, I would like to think it kind of shuts down Dark Magician decks, or just, you know, anything to do with like having multiples of a dark monster in. You know, you can just tribute a card, tribute summon monster, get Caius and Mega Monarch out, and then, you know, if you choose a dark monster card, you know, you're banishing it, inflicting 1000 damage to your opponent. And you know what, that's literally a win, because it just banishes Dark Magicians, it banishes yeah, the extra deck monsters if it's got listed Dark Magician. I don't know if it works with Dark Magician and Dragon Knight. I've not actually tried that yet, but that's something I'd have to simulate or get a reading on. Okay, and best card in the deck, I believe, is Erebus the Underworld Monarch, which I actually run at 3. As you can see from all these really high powered monsters, obviously you can brick at times. I'm on a ratio of about 70-30, so saying on the 70% scale that I hardly ever brick, 30% I will have a dead hand, but most of the time you will have a spell or trap card in your hand which will help unbrick your deck. Erebus is just a fantastic, if you've got Domain of the True Monarchs on the field, you know, you'd activate that, narrow his level down by 2, and then you'd just get you just get him out, and then you could just shuffle your opponent's cards from the field or hand into the deck. It works just as amazing as that. I also just throw in the one aether, which you can only play one anyway, seeing as it's limited. There's probably a very, very good reason why aether is actually limited. Obviously, tributing a tribute summon monster or tributing 2 monsters. You send 2 monarch spell trap cards to the graveyard. In my opinion, you'd throw Pantheism in there. Obviously, you can activate Pantheism's effect, and then you'd throw in a Prime Monarch just so you could special summon off from there. You know, go off from the combos. Obviously, during your opponent's main phase, you know, you can actually immediately banish a Monarch spell or trap card, and then you can actually tribute summon this card, and that's a quick effect. So Aether's kind of amazing. Okay, and to round off the deck, I'll have 2 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbits. I do need the third one. Obviously, I don't at the moment, and especially going over 50 cards, obviously that is a massive risk in my deck anyway. But I can't afford Ash Blossoms. I don't ever intend to get Ash Blossoms. Obviously, it does the job as it is. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit is a really good cheaper option. Obviously, you would want to round off with Maxi, because obviously that is probably one of the best cards in the game. Okay, next up we have the spell lineup. The most important card in the spell engine, Domain of the True Monarchs, is your field spell. So while you have no cards in your extra deck, you are the only player that controls a tribute summon monster, your opponent cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck. Now, ideally, I'll show you a combo at the end. I'll show you a couple of combos actually in which you can do with this deck. Preferably if you get the hands, you would activate Domain, you would have a tribute summon monster. Your opponent cannot have the extra deck, and if you have Vanities Fiend on the field, obviously you're stopping special summons also, so you've pretty much locked out half their deck most of the time. Okay, next you want to run triple the Prime Monarch. I mean, you could activate this card if you wanted to. It's more of your throwaway card. This card is most of the time needed to be seen in the graveyard. Obviously, its effect, you could just activate, and then once per turn you can target 2 Monarch spells or traps in the graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, and then draw 1 card. I don't usually do that unless I've gotten like an emergency play. Most of the time, I would just literally banish a Monarch spell trap and then special summon it in defense, and then you've got an extra monster that you can use. Okay, also 2 of the best cards in the whole deck, which you can only run at 1 card each per I can't even speak. Preferably because they are quite OP at the moment. So Monarch Stormfall, you could probably play in any deck. I mean, that just tribute summons a monster on your opponent's monster, and you could just use one of your own monsters as a tribute. Fantastic card. Pantheism, you could go off with Pantheism. You could pitch that to the graveyard with a monster effect or Monarch effect. Obviously, most of the time, I mean, even, you know, just sending a Monarch spell trap, if you want to send Prime Monarchs to the graveyard from your hand, perfect, because you can then special summon it, and then you could just banish this after you've used it, and then get any 3 cards, your opponent chooses 1. Most of the time you'd pick Domain of the True Monarchs, and then you've got a free domain that you can use. Also, I would like to just apologise, this is one of my first videos, especially my first ever deck profile, so hopefully I'm doing well for that. But next up we're doing March of the Monarchs. I run it at 2, obviously 1 you could use as a throwaway, you could just banish it and just obviously bring out Prime Monarch again if you would like. But March of the Monarchs is actually a very decent card. I mean, I would usually play Haemon in defense, play March of the Monarchs. Obviously your opponent can destroy spells and traps, but you know, he would you could not target him or destroy him by card effects, because he's not exactly he's a beat stick and everything, and he's got a good effect, but he can be destroyed by card effects, and that's the only problem with Haemon. So I would play 2 March of the Monarchs just for all tribute summon monsters basically. Okay, I played double Tenacity of the Monarchs. I was thinking of running it at 3. Obviously, most of the time, I know you will have a monster with 2400 or 2800 attack, i.e. Erebus or Caius the Mega Monarch. Anything like them, you can reveal them and then add a Monarch spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. But also at the same time I needed to replace the third one for a different card, basically. It's just how I run the deck. I mean, just like every YouTuber says, this is just a guideline for something if you would actually like to play this deck. It's just a fun deck. I have tried to play it competitively, but within this new day and age with the meta, it can take decks down. It can take all decks down. Any deck can take any deck down. And I say that just purely because it's the shuffle, it's the luck of the draw. You could have the best combo in the world and it could just take your opponent down. Goodbye spirals, goodbye tricksters, goodbye pendulum magicians. This deck has actually taken ABCs down a few times. It has taken spirals to their limit. Obviously, I've never beaten a spiral deck, but at least I know this deck actually works quite formidably, especially when you're running the God Engine. So I only play the one Return of the Monarchs. I've literally just taken the other two out. I don't think... I mean, for the amount of Monarchs to ratio on getting it, you don't actually need Return of the Monarchs that much. It's just more one of those, you pitch it, you throw it out, you get your card, then you get rid of it. First Monarch, you know, I actually always make this either a dark attribute when you special summon it as a monster, or you can just make it a divine, and then you could have two monsters on the field. You'd use divine, the first Monarch, and it counts as two tributes, so it's actually fantastic. Of course, you only are allowed to play one for one in the deck by sending one monster from your hand to the graveyard, special summon one level 1 monster from your hand or deck. That's up to you what you would like to put in the graveyard. Personally, I just either throwing an Eidos or an Edia, and then you'd special summon an Edia, and then her effect would special summon Eidos. Foolish Burial Goods, just to pitch Prime Monarch to the graveyard, or Pantheism if you haven't already, or you can just throw away any Monarch spell trap and it will just, you can just pitch it for and banish it for anything. Because Edia's effect from the graveyard, if she's sent to the graveyard, you can take any banished Monarch spell trap card and add it back to your hand. This is a card that people are quite unfamiliar with, and that's Card Advance. Oh, sorry for the glare, by the way. Card Advance is actually a fantastic card because if you have Eidos on the field and you're allowed to tribute and have another monster on the field with Eidos, I mean, you could have that, play Erebus, and then you could have another Erebus in your hand, play Card Advance. You can look at the top 5 cards of your deck, you can place them in any order, and then you can tribute summon one monster in addition to your normal summon and set. So that means you get a second monster. So you could normal, special summon, and then normal again. It's absolutely fantastic. Okay, and then to round off the deck, I would usually just play 3 Solemn Strikes, but seeing as I'm keeping it at 50 cards, I'm running 2 Solemn Strikes. A lot of people are going to question the method to my madness behind this deck. There's a lot of people that are going to say, oh, you're not good enough, you're terrible at the game, and all this kind of stuff. That I know what deck works for me. I'm happy the way this deck runs. I'm going to show you a couple of combos, and hopefully you'll enjoy them, to be honest, and then hopefully it can silence people and actually play a deck that's quite fun. It can be powerful and fun at the same time. You see Spiral players, they're not having fun, they're just running the deck like clockwork, and okay, winning to them is everything, and I think learning is a better experience. Hashtag not. Okay, so here's just one combo that you could make. Let's just say this is your starting hand. The first thing you would do, you have no monsters, so you would special summon Link Slayer because you control no monsters. Normal summon Edia. Edia's effect allows you to get an Eidos from the deck. Eidos gives you, obviously, the extra tribute or normal summon or set. Now, here's where it gets fun. You can go into any 3 of these. You could tribute, obviously, you could tribute Link Slayer. You can go into Dark Summoning Beast. Dark Summoning Beast effect would take you into an automatic Haemon. Or you could obviously tribute and get all 3 god. You can get a god card and get any god card you'd like, or you could have these 3 out, and then you could just probably just tribute 2 monsters. I personally just always go with Eidos and Edia because that will just combo off. Because you'll go into Erebus, you would pitch 2 Monarch spell trap cards. So you would actually pitch Pantheism and the Prime Monarch to the graveyard by his effect, and his effect will shuffle a card into the opponent from the opponent's field, should they have one, depending on if you're going first or second. Or if you are going first, let's say you are going first and you pitch his effect and then send a card from their hand to the deck and they have to shuffle, you know, you're basically starting on 5 cards, and you know that's going to really annoy the opponent. Obviously you could combo off by, because Edia was sent to the graveyard, you can activate her effect, and because hold on, sorry, I got that wrong. You could activate Pantheism, banish it, and obviously you can bring out Domain of the True Monarchs if you had wanted to. Activate Edia's effect, bring Pantheon back to your hand if you would like, or you could just activate Prime Monarch, banish Pantheism, special summon Prime Monarch, and then you have Edia bringing back Pantheism from the banish zone. Vanities is only there in case I wanted to show you if I wanted to play a Vanities Fiend with Domain of the True Monarchs. Then you've got, basically, you could have God card on the field. Because they will tribute summon monsters, your opponent cannot special summon, and they cannot use the extra deck because you're the only person that controls a tribute summon monster. Half the time, your opponents don't tribute monsters these days anyway. Or you could just activate Idus's effect, banish him. I personally wouldn't do it. I'd just wait till next turn, leave him in there. Wait till your turn, banish Idus, special summon Edia. Edia's effect special summons another Eidos from the deck, and then whatever cards are in your hand you can combo off of, because then you could actually just Dark Summoning Beast, tribute Edia again, and then bring Haim onto the field. I'm sorry if that is a lot to explain. I'm holding the camera with one hand, and that's probably the downfall of my recording skills there, but hopefully that does explain the deck and all the combos that it can play. I mean, there is a lot more. Obviously you have Aether in the deck. You have the Ra's Disciples, so you could normal summon Ra's Disciples, bring the special tokens, and then just summon Ring Dragon of Ra or Obelisk if you'd like. Or you can bring Ravior out. I think the Divine Monarchs are going to really surprise a few people, especially when I play it. Whenever I go to a local tournament, I know it really does surprise a lot of people. So thank you for watching. I hope this video kind of explains how good the deck is. I personally enjoy it. I hope people want to use it as a guideline. Just let me know what you think, or any cards that you think is good for this deck. A lot of people will be laughing at me right now, but you know what? I'm having fun, hopefully you're having fun, and I'll see you in the next one.